Well, guys, welcome to another episode of the World Football Summit podcast. We're recording live from Riyadh, and today's is a very special episode that I want to share with you guys because I'm a big fan of Common Goal. And today I have the immense pleasure to speak with Ben Miller. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jaime, and thanks for the kind words about Common Goal.
No, I mean, it's a treat for me, and I'm sure it's going to be a treat for the audience. One of the things I like most about what you guys are doing is, the movement. You've been able to turn an initiative into a movement. So let's go back to the beginning. What was the insight there? What triggered it all? What happened at the beginning?
Well, at the beginning was an understanding that there'd been two separate worlds, one based around community-based football for development and the other based around the industry. So we're talking like 15 years ago, right? And an understanding that they were actually one and the same thing. So it was the intent was to bring those two together. And the movement, the language that we used around movement at the beginning was to try to avoid using the kind of language that is associated with philanthropy or charity or do-gooding, and to focus on the collectivity. And I think now what's evolved is Common Goal becomes a global network of football-focused community organizations that exists to enable radical collaboration among diverse football stakeholders wherever you are to try to tackle the big challenges of our time. So around sustainability, around inclusion, around mental health, around racial justice, and around gender equality, which I think for me, it's the first time I'm in Saudi Arabia. And I think it's very, very clear to me after a couple of days that gender equity, female empowerment, women's rights, however you want to frame that, is the most visible and exciting advancement and opportunity here in this market.
Oh, wow. Big challenge. It's a big challenge, but you have to tackle it.
Yeah, I heard Monica Saab, the women's national team coach, speaking yesterday, and she said that in her native Germany, they fought tooth and nail for 33 years to establish a professional women's league.
Wow.
And here it's happened in 3 years.
Yeah.
So where there is support, where there is commitment, both in terms of belief, but also in terms of resource commitment.
Yeah.
This place is absolutely, like where we're sitting now is mind blowing. That the on Sunday night, the evening that I arrived, I went to the 2034 bidding exhibition,
which must have been,
and it's actually hard to get your head around the scale, the scope, the ambition of not what is a concept, but like what is actually happening. So it's been really interesting to come here and actually see things with your own eyes.
Yeah. It's remarkable to think or to see or to imagine what they're trying to do here. It's just, for me, that's what amazes me most.
Well, I've just done a panel, so the Common Goal panel. So thanks a lot to Marian and to Jan and to you, Jaime, and the whole WFS team for just like putting together this, which is just extraordinary. And I'm in huge awe of the amount of work that it entails to make a successful event like this. But also just to have the chance to meet people from such diverse backgrounds. So on the panel that we just did was a female CEO of Eastern Flames FC, a women's football club, which I think has 9 of the Saudi Arabian national team players on its books, who is a single mother of 2, an entrepreneur, very successful business person, and a former player, and a club chairperson. So
she's a wonderful.
I'm not sure if I would have expected to become friends with somebody like that in Saudi Arabia from what I've understood about the kingdom from an external, the kind of external sources that I consume.
It changes perceptions totally.
Yeah.
Right? Once you hear, once you see it. And that's one of the messages that I always leave with these types of events that we do here in Saudi. speaking about changes, you guys have launched a rebrand recently.
Yep.
Tell us more about that.
So that is absolutely nothing to do with me, which is probably why it was so successful. So kudos to Marius, the acting head of comms, and a Danish design agency, independent design agency called Barkas. And they've been leading this project, and it was announced last week.
Yeah.
And has been accepted or embraced very, very positively by
It's beautiful.
by everybody, and I think it marks a sort of a new strategic chapter in Common Goals growth journey, and it is Common Goal, which has started as a bit of a disruptive movement, is now in a new sort of stage of its maturity, in which it's become far more strategic, far more structured, and far more prepared for, I suppose, future success. And the Common Goal brand refresh, I think, represents that. It represents, I suppose, some dynamism, some the inclusivity, also, I suppose, the community or grassroots nature of it, while also trying to be engaging and attractive to diverse audiences, but specifically from audiences from Gen Zs and alphas, who hopefully will find, a brand, which we never really had time to think about these things strategically. We were sort of busy with trying to get Common Goal established. So I suppose it's the first time that this has been strategically approached. And I think, just sort of heralds a new stage in the maturity of Common Goal. And we're really excited. Do you like it?
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. That's why I asked you about it. Yeah. And it seems
when my 12-year-old son, or when we were looking at the thing, so Mattis shared some stuff a few months ago, and I was looking at it, and he came over to see what I was doing. And there was a mock-up of the logo on a scarf and on a baseball cap. And he said, "Oh, I want one of those."
Oh, no, I saw it, and I was like, I thought about, I've been speaking a lot with Inigo lately, Inigo Azcárate from Spain. I was I have to text him, and say, wow, this looks amazing, so, and...
I think all the feedback's been good. And I don't know whether that's because people wouldn't, like, WhatsApp you saying, God, that looks awful.
Well,
but it's been universally...
But think about it.
I know some people that probably would.
I don't know if you've seen the Jaguar rebrand.
Yeah, well, it's worked in a way. I don't know. In a strange way, it's worked.
I think it has.
Yeah, because everyone's talking about it, right?
That's my take on it. Everybody tells me they hate it. And the other day I was having this conversation with someone in the office and said, but you know what?
Have they launched the car yet?
I don't know if they launched the car. Who cares? They make the brand relevant again.
When they do actually launch the car, which is the whole point of it, loads and loads of people will look at it,
right?
Because of all the stuff that's come before.
But to your point, I think, does it really matter if people like it or not? I think what's making Common Goals is relevant, which it already was. But you're growing up as a brand, which is great to see, and then this has led to conversations around the industry, which that's what you want to become relevant, no?
Yeah, and you've got to constantly, to do that, you've got to constantly analyze where you are, where you want to go, and refresh yourself as the brand's being refreshed.
But the essence is the same, right? Which is creating social change. It's the movement, right? So I guess my question to you is, you have a great ecosystem of stakeholders that are, whether it's players, whether it's partners, whether whatever, no? And I guess I'm wondering, is there a conversation that has influenced you most in terms of understanding how much power does football have to change the world?
I think it's like taken from different perspectives. You can see firsthand, if you ever go to one of these community organizations and see, which is probably the starting point. For me, it was a starting point for Juan when he visited India. When you see it firsthand, it's like indisputable that football has this unique power to create a function in disadvantaged communities that can transform lives. That's one part of it. The other part is the drum that I've been banging on a personal level for 15 years now, nearly, has been about, if the social or the sustainability part of it is done correctly, it can actually drive business growth as well. So your objectives in terms of who you are as a human being and what you would like to contribute during your lifetime to people and planet, and what you are if you're being judged as a chief financial officer on revenues, the two things, rather than being either or, are actually mutually compatible. And now we're at the stage where 3 years ago at the World Football Summit in Sevilla, with Julie Ehrman, the CEO of Angel City, she said that, I think she said it after, or she said it after that. I wish she'd said it during the panel. It's probably my fault for not like extracting the information. But she was like, actually, when we like publicly communicated that we were committing 10% of all revenues to community organizations that are relevant to us as a club in the area, specifically organizations that are run by women, Black and brown women. Not only did they increase the price of their sponsorship portfolio by 20%.
Wow.
They also sold it out very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. So they had 10% extra money. So the CFO was looking at that thinking, wow, we've made 10% more money.
There you go.
It's a direct result of stating a purpose. And then at the same time, they had the other 10% to actually invest in these community organizations. And then what subsequently happened with that is that they sold more tickets, they sold more merchandising, and they had a whole ream of stories to tell, which gave evidence to their value system or their purpose.
There you go.
As a football club.
And look at them today. I mean, with record valuation, record sales. I mean,
$250 million, right?
It's, hey, it would help me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you look at the valuation of that, I think a great part of that, I would say, is about their unique identity in terms of community empowerment, in terms of female empowerment.
There you go.
And it's that identity. And ditto with Right to Dream and FC Nordland and the investment that they received from the Mansell Group. So doing things differently, doing things with a serious, credible commitment to a value system or a purpose system or whatever you want to call it, can actually drive business advantage as well. So that's a conversation for me that maybe it sounds a bit dry and a bit boring, but certainly in the context of a football industry event, we're now being able to learn the same language as chief marketing officers, chief financial officers, chief communication officers, and CEOs that begin to see this whole thing is actually holistic and mutually beneficial.
But it's encouraging, to see finally that I have this conversation with Rishi Jain from Liverpool. He's director of Impact, and he was saying that football clubs have the responsibility, but also the opportunity to create social good. And I think a lot of organizations are taking that to heart, and like that, I think it's encouraging. And to that point, Ben, I wanted to ask you, because you guys are doing a lot of efforts towards building a better football industry, relying on social impact by 2030. You have that big vision. What needs to happen? What has to be true first, let's say, what is the football that you envision by then, and what needs to be true for that to happen?
Yeah, well, the first thing is, I think 20 and 30 was the global goals gave a meaningful framework to the space in which Common Goal operates. So from that perspective, it made sense originally to adopt that framework in terms of having a sort of a direction in which to travel. And then it then became very clear that specific goals around the 17 goals are relevant to everything, and specific goals are relevant to specific activities. And in terms of the transformation, the other thing about the global goals is there's a sense of urgency.
Almost there.
Which is weird to think of. So it's amazing how time goes, but also the very clear understanding of anybody who is being honest that nothing will be meaningfully, we're not even going to get close to the objectives unless there is a genuine adoption of radical collaboration and an openness to radical collaboration. And that is something that I can see beginning to happen
Yeah.
in what was a very traditionally siloed industry.
Yeah.
So where football can be by 2030, I think will be a far more inclusive.
Yeah.
And it's already happened now, Jaime. So like from the first World Football Summit, so Common Goal was sort of like an impact partner. And there we were, like, you know, having these conversations with certain people who were like, either had a personal connection to this or happened to be interested in sustainability or had a lived experience in, you know, suffering from gender inequality or racism and now it's just part of everybody is, you know, is talking about this, and, you know, we're on the main stage, if you like. These themes are on the main stage. So I think that's only going to accelerate. And what we were saying before about previously being able to talk about things in a symbolic way, and not actually sort of walk the walk, that's already, so that ship sailed. So Sharon Thorne, who was the global chair at Deloitte, was saying that if we as an organization say that we stand for gender equity or female empowerment, Deloitte currently has just under 500,000 employees. Which is quite mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you're subsequently not living that as an organization, just internally, not even thinking about my sort of thing, which is, you know, external facing campaigns and media and all of that kind of stuff, storytelling. But if you're just thinking about your internal audience, you are not going to retain and you're not going to attract the best talent. Like, everyone's going to know that you're sort of living a lie. And I sort of tell that anecdote because Sharon Thorne's like an extraordinarily successful person in the business world, and it was an interesting reflection. But also, I think everybody understands that now, that you need to show what you're doing, no matter how humbly, but you need to show something tangible about what you're actually doing around these. So I think that's already happening now. So in another, I guess, 5 years' time, I think impact will be embedded along with the you know, as part of the central strategy of all forward-thinking, durable sports industry stakeholders. And for those that don't, I think they will very quickly become obsolete and overtaken.
They'll fall behind. And I guess, Ben, I mean, you guys have been to that point. You have been a very good example of establishing partnership with brands. And I guess that's my last question to you, which is, you know, what role do you see brands playing in creating that better football by 2030? First point. And then what makes a partnership successful?
So there's a couple of points there. One is that going back to this, the brand refresh of Common Goal and going forward, there's, for the first time, there is a James Stevens joined Common Goal, and he's the head of partnerships, and he is from, surprise, surprise, a partnership and sponsorship background.
There you go.
And he's strategically building, you know, a funnel of sponsorship offerings, of partnership offerings that make sense for people from a return on investment perspective, which we had never actually, the whole thing had been quite organic up until then. So set yourself up for success. B, in terms of sort of general, I suppose, sports industry stakeholders, organizations that are invested into sport, I think understand that to be successful and to continue to innovate, to continue to grow in value and to engage with particularly younger audiences, you need to include diverse voices and diverse organizations into that conversation on an equal footing, whether they're community leaders or community organization participants, whether they're NGOs, whether they're activists, whether they're athletes, whether, you know, so include a diversity of voices, and brands understand that. So we'll look to an organization like Common Goal as a platform that can help foster that collaboration, and I suppose guide with the expertise that, you know, of a 30-year track record in this global network of football focused community organizations will help them walk the talk in terms of what they stand for. So again, I think it just becomes an integral part of who you are as a brand in football. The amount of times I've heard the word community here at this event,
buzzword.
Yeah, it's really inspiring. Yeah, so and we're the words, the kind of narrative that we sort of thought about more than 10 years ago now.
Yeah,
we're having to actually evolve that consistently. So from a movement, when we talked about Common Goal being a movement, now we talk about a global network of football-focused community organizations. But the movement back then was like, that was quite wow, a movement. Like, and now everything's a movement.
Everything's a movement.
Yeah. So we need to evolve that. But still, it's great to see that happening. And there's a lot of opportunities now, I think, for corporate partnerships that we've really thought in a strategic way with the leadership of James, and in terms of how you deliver value on that. And there's maybe just as I guess I'm allowed to say it, but there's a sort of a pilot stage now of a partnership with Lego Foundation.
Oh wow!
Which is a really, really interesting organization to partner with.
Yes, it is.
So we'll see where that goes. So that's the latest iteration. The relationship with Adidas is ongoing. There's a relationship with Hyundai.
Wow.
Which again, it talks to meeting people where they are. So as an automobile company, you think, okay, so they're a contributor towards the state of the climate at the moment. And yet at the same time, they've made a public statement about neutrality by 2040. And without their investment into Common Goal, we wouldn't actually have a meaningful, we probably would some other way, but it's really helped accelerate the climate action vertical of Common Goal. So you meet people where they are. You don't be judgmental, and be open-minded about radical collaboration.
What I like about that is, you're very, there's a lot of diversity in the terms of the partnerships. And I think, diversity leads to wisdom is a quote that I heard one day. And I think it's interesting, no? Anyway, Ben, this has been a great conversation. I want to thank you for your time. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share with the audience today.
No. Just again, kudos to Marianne and to Jan, to yourself, and to the whole of the WFS team for this event. It's been brilliant. It's been an eye opener for me to come to Saudi Arabia, and so gratitude. And for anyone, I guess, like me that hasn't been here before, that very much has a perception shaped by what you read and hear externally, I'm really surprised by, and I've got no motive to say this, I'm not getting any money from anybody, but I'm genuinely surprised by the open-mindedness of everybody that I've spoken to from here, and the commitment that they have towards change, towards positive change. So that would be my main reflection on the event, and gratitude for the World Football Summit to allow Common Goal to be part of your guys' journey. And it's been brilliant so far, and I hope that we can continue to. No,
we're the ones that we're thankful for your partnership, Ben. So thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Jaime.
Thank you.
Cheers.